The Great War display team. And Debs Boddington joins me to help talk through it. Debs, a very warm welcome to you. Good to have you back at Duxford.
Thank you very much, Ben. So, ladies and gentlemen, just imagine you're sitting in the trenches in World War I. What you're about to see above you is what you would see with these aeroplanes, with the ducking and the diving and the very close formations. The black smoke was known as Akak, or better known as Charlie. Now, the Charlie, the white was the British and the black was the German.
One also recalls the fact that 3 such aircraft from the Royal Naval Air Service bombed the German Zeppelin airship factories in Friedrichshafen on Lake Constance in what's often been considered the world's first ever strategic bombing raid. As they clear out to the right, look in front of you.
And if you can imagine now, this is what the soldiers in the trenches would be seeing above them. It's a very iconic look.
The 2 aircraft breaking away high there, the 2 SE-5As. And the 2 aircraft in the lowest orbit. In front is the Newport 17 Scout, and behind it all of the 2 very, very recognisable Fokker Dr1 Triplanes, the Dreideckers.
And the one with the black snake on it is Will Greenwood, and this was the airplane that was formerly owned by Bruce Dickinson, a Ryan Maiden plane. You can now see the SE-5 in the front with very clearly with the streamers on him.
SE in that aircraft's designation stands for Scout Experimental. More than 5,000 of them went on to be built. It was a good performer at all altitudes. It was quicker than its German rivals. It was very strong, fast and agile. We watch this display is how inexperienced a lot of the first version from that conflict on both sides. These were very young men who had undergone by modern standards certainly very rudimentary training.
Quite certainly, Ben. A lot of them would only have 8 hours or less in flying time, and of course it didn't help that quite often they would crash the aeroplanes before they even got as far as the battlefield.
Is their average age through the front line during World War I just 20? And then they were thrust into the melee.
Mainly single seaters as well. They didn't even have any chance for instruction.
The DR1 was really the most famous fighter, at least certainly now, of the First World War. It was developed in significant part as a result of the excellent performance of the Sopwith Triplane when that British only were built, a very small number in fact, by contrast with the likes of the SE-5A and certainly the 504. It was very agile in turns, but it was slower than its allied adversaries, and it suffered some quite serious structural problems at the time as well.
The sky today is actually creating the perfect backdrop to this display. It makes it look very much more real.
And those real dogfights of the First World War would have involved mostly far, far more.
Yes, as much as this looks like it's mayhem, I can assure you it's a very well orchestrated display. You may have seen the guys earlier walking it out on the ground, and they do that on a regular basis.
Firmly in its sights, this is a very interesting aircraft indeed. It's a so-called sesquiplane, or 1.5 wing design, whereby one wing, which is the lower one in this case, is smaller than the other. When it was first introduced by the French air arm, the Aeronautique Militaire, it proved well able to take on the hitherto dominant German Fokker Dr1 monoplane, and many French and British aces flew Newport Scouts, as well as the American volunteer-manned Escadrille Lafayette with its famous Indian head observation balloons. Up there, the poor old 504 is still undergoing the attentions of the Junkers CL1. Only 47 of the CL1s had been built and delivered by the armistice. It was the most effective German ground attack aircraft of the late World War I period. 3 of them, incidentally, were supplied as flight planes.
Pilots with the Great War team will come from a large variety of backgrounds. Some fly with general aviation, we have some airline pilots and engineers, so a lot of background there. Say, of course, that all of these aircraft are replicas, some full size, others the SE-5As, small scale, 7/8 scale replicas, and all of them use more modern engines than the types that would have been employed on these aircraft in period. But nonetheless, it is the most tremendous recreation of the sort of whirling melee that would have been seen above the trenches. For the photographers of you, make sure you get the pictures of the AREO, because unfortunately this may be the last season that the AREO 504 will be flying. It's actually owned by Mr. AREO's grandson, and I think they made the decision now that unless we can get some sponsorship for it, unfortunately it will be dedicated to a museum early next year.
It's a very interesting replica, isn't it? Built originally out in Argentina by a company called Pursang. Well, the aircraft now, as you can see, forming up out to our right for their final pass, and with this we pay tribute to the aviators of all countries who took part in the First World War in the air.
I think he landed a few times. The Great War team, ladies and gentlemen.
So who do we have flying today, Debs?
Dave Linney. In the AREO 504 is Matthew Boddington. In the Newport is John Gilbert. And in the 2 Fokker triplanes, Pete Bond and Will Greenwood.
And the Junkers CL1?
Sorry, poor Mike, I always forget him. Mike Collett.
Ah, yes, of course. Who will be seeing?
Yes, Ben.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Debs. We look forward to seeing the team again tomorrow and hearing from you later when we have the wing walkers.
Thanks, Ben.
I'm positioning out to land behind the Great War display team. In turn, we have one of the stars of today's show in from another commitment elsewhere. It's an aircraft we actually had with us last year on his jet pits. We'll see the jet engines engage when he does his show later on.